good 3-day weekend here in St. Ansgar. We had a snowstorm on Friday, so we missed a day of school, and that was right at the end of our first week of second semester. So I hope everybody's off to a great start for second semester. I feel like things went well in my classes this week as we kind of shuffle people around and all those things for second semester. And with that in mind, we've been talking about kind of goal setting or a different approach to goal setting or resolution types of things, with it being a new calendar year and for us, the start of second semester. So the last 2 weeks have been focused on that. We talked about guiding principles instead of maybe setting a specific resolution or a specific goal right away, which specific goals are great down the road, but starting with a guiding principle, that's something we can continually reflect upon. Because the things that we continually think about become our reality. So we talked about that first. And then last week we spent just a little bit of time tracking a couple days of your week, which is a great practice to just at the end of the day look back on everything you did that day and kind of decide, these are the things that I did that are really feeding my goals, feeding into my goal principles, feeding into the things that I care about, and here are maybe some areas where I could improve. And the responses I got from students were really great. There was a lot of thought put into these things I did well, this is the stuff that I'm focusing on right now, and maybe here's an area where I spent a little too much time on my phone, or even things like I mean to get a little more sleep, and I didn't get to bed early, things like that. So then it's not missing a goal, it's just continually assessing. For teachers and students, you've heard this term, it's sort of formative assessment for your life. We're looking at constant feedback of this went well, here's some areas where I can improve, and what can I do again, what can I do the next day to build off of this. So we started with sort of the large umbrella idea, and we're kind of whittling it down. So now this week what I want you to do is I want you to plan a day. So if you're going to respond to me on Monday, send me a plan for your Tuesday. Or if you're going to respond Tuesday, send me a plan for Wednesday, whatever it is. But pick a day, and I want you to plan it out. Because that is important. I've talked about setting these broad ideas, but at some point we do want to get a little more specific with things. And we want to set up a schedule and a plan for our days, our weeks, our months that are going to feed our goals and be enjoyable as well. I think sometimes people maybe don't plan because they think it's going to be restrictive. But really being disciplined in our practices and scheduling things out allows us a lot of freedom to do things that we want to do. So setting up your day isn't just about setting up the things you have to do. It's about setting up the things we want to do also. And I do a lot of different things to address that. I'm going to step out of frame here to grab some things. But one thing I do, and I know a lot of my students, this is maybe hard to see, this is a little whiteboard that hangs on our fridge, and I know many of my students have a planner or something like that to plan the things going on in their classes, but I do the same. I'll maybe have a hardbound calendar that I write things down on that I know are months ahead, but then I mark down each month. So as I was wrapping up December, I'll write in January. And this is a little more, because it's a whiteboard, I can change things, whatever, but I'm marking out the things that I have for that month that I know are coming up. And just as a teacher and a parent, those things fill up pretty quickly. There's not many days where I don't have something specifically written, but they're not just obligations. There's a lot of things on here that, are school involved, there are things that I have to get done, house things, But then there's a lot of things on here that are just enjoyment types of things. Trips with my kids. I've got 2 different trips with my kids on this month. So it's just about mapping, hey, here's where I need to be with things. And sometimes mapping out those enjoyable things is good too. For instance, I know next weekend we're going to a water park, my kids and I. It's my daughter's birthday. It's Claire's birthday this week, upcoming week. So over the weekend, we're going to go to a water park. And there's really nothing on my agenda other than we're just going to have fun. So some of the things that I want to get done, family time videos, I'm going to record a couple of them today so that I have them for the next couple weeks because I'm not going to spend time on that next weekend. And some of the other media stuff that I want to get done so I can map out, hey, I'm having fun this weekend, and then I don't have to worry about those other things. And that's what I mean by if we plan things, we can set ourselves up for success and to have the free time and the enjoyment that we want. And what I do to even whittle things down from there a little bit more, stepping off the frame again, is this is a bulletin board with a whiteboard on one side that I have hanging up. It's kind of the corner as you come in and out of our house. So the whiteboard of the calendar is on the refrigerator, and then this whiteboard and bulletin board is on the wall right there. So I can see it as I'm leaving the house, right away when I come in, and I can check things, and sometimes I'll even take a picture of it with my phone as I'm walking out, because this is where I break it down even more. I have always 2 weeks listed. This is kind of a habit I got into when I was an athletic director, because there was a lot of things to plan. So I figured 2 weeks I can be very specific about things and look at the stuff that I have to do. And some of them just little reminders, like on Monday, when we're back in school, I want to make sure I bring lunch money for my kids, and I have on here that night we're going to bake treats so Claire can bring them to school for her birthday. So sometimes it's little stuff like that. I map out when my kids, specifically my son, wants to pack school lunch because he doesn't like certain school lunches. So we have that mapped out there. So then it's not a rush in the morning. There are things that we have checked off. So I've got mapped out for 2 weeks here specific things that I'm doing. And then I don't really have to think about them anymore. I marked them down. It's not something I have to constantly be thinking about. I can focus on other things. And then what I'll do is, you can kind of see over on the side, there's a little plan for my day today. So I'm filming this on a Saturday. And it's actually, I just map out times. And I kind of use the same schedule that we have at school. We have block scheduling, so it's an hour and 20-minute chunks of time. I kind of use that same schedule where here's what I'm going to work on for this block of time. Here's what I'm going to focus on for this block of time. And I try to adhere to that schedule. Now, I leave myself the flexibility to get off schedule a little bit. If I'm working on something and I've got some momentum going, I don't always cut myself off right at the moment I'm supposed to change to the next activity. Or if I can, as I'm doing something, figure out, oh, this maybe didn't take as long as I thought, I can kind of move up the schedule. For instance, I had a lot of things today that were doing some schoolwork stuff and then doing some other media things that I wanted to get done. I want to do some family time stuff, but also some things for my blog and some prep for marketing of my book that's going to be coming out. And those are all things that I wanted to get done. And in some of the prep type things that I set up before I was going to record, I kind of condensed those together. So I wound up a little bit ahead of schedule for some of those things. And then there's some things that, okay, if I have some bonus time, I'll circle back to. But I like to have a little bit of a schedule that way with some flexibility. But sometimes I get in the habit of, if I'm working on something, I feel like I have to finish it in one sitting. If it's something I'm doing for school, well, I just have to hammer it through. But then sometimes I find myself slowing down a little bit because I've been working on it for an extended period of time. I maybe haven't gotten up and moved around for a while, and then I'm becoming less efficient with that activity. So by giving myself a bit of a schedule, I can kind of go, oh, I'm going to set this aside and move on to this other thing that I want to be working on as well. I can stay productive, I can take a little break in between tasks, and that's very helpful. And that's what I want you to do this week, is sort of map out a day. During the school week, a lot of times I have it broken into, I'll have a section I write AM. These are the few things I'm going to do before school. So maybe it's I'm going to work out, I'm going to have this set up, maybe it's even just a reminder, set out the garbage, do some things like that. Then I'll have school. I don't map every detail. I have my plans in my lesson planner for what we're going to do in classes, but for maybe it's a couple of things. Oh, I want to remember to talk to these students. I want to remember to get a couple things ready for track workouts, whatever it might be. And then I'll have PM, the stuff after school, where it's any activities that I'm coaching or extracurricular stuff or my kids' activities. And then it might just be, then I'll put bed, which is maybe when I put my kids to bed after they're asleep. If I've got about an hour, here's some things that I want to set up for the next day, or maybe spend a little time writing or something like that. But it's good to map out some time for some enjoyable stuff too. Like I said, today's a Saturday. I went and moved snow this morning and worked out and did some of that stuff. Then I decided, well, this day was going to be kind of a work day for me to get some stuff done, as I'm kind of snowed in with bad weather. But I only planned up until like the end of the regular school day. So at about 3:20, I have my schedule done. At that point, I plan to probably do some drawing, maybe play my guitar, but I've left some free space because I don't want every minute scheduled. And I don't want it to be something that, I begin to not like. I don't want to not like the schedule. So I leave some free time, and if the weather clears up, I'm probably going to get together with some friends and do some things like that. But I'm setting up some fun activities as well, or at least giving myself some time for that. So that's what I want you to do. Pick a day, and ahead of time, setting my board down, and ahead of time, schedule it. Map some things out that you want to get done, some points of focus. Then you're kind of taking control of it. That's a big thing, and I mentioned it in class, is instead of letting the day happen to you. I feel so often in life we just kind of let life happen to us. We let the day happen to us. Well, instead, you happen to the day. Let yourself take control of the day, the things that you have to get done, the obligations, the things that set you up for future success, but also the areas where you're going to get some enjoyment and some fulfillment out of things. Because that is just as important. So that's what we're doing this week. We're going to shift gears a little bit next week, away from the specific setting of goals, but hopefully this gives you a few practices that you can implement, make your own, adapt to fit you, but to set you up for success and to help you achieve the things you do want to achieve. Let's continue to have a great start to second semester. Hopefully we're not going to have another snowstorm for a little bit, but we'll see you on Monday. Much love.